So we'll call the meeting to order at 5:36 on October 20th. Town of Lunenburg, in response to COVID-19, is currently following the guidance from Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread of all town facilities are open during limited hours and by appointment only. In accordance with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be recorded and will be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours of the meeting. So I don't see any public, but is there any public comment from the board before we get started?
None from
Seeing
me.
none. Did you guys receive the minutes that I emailed?
Yes.
I did.
Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
No, no, and no.
Okay.
Ditto.
Do we want to vote to approve them, or do we just?
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as distributed by the chair.
Second.
Second.
All in favor in the order that I see you? Wendy,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and Dave?
Aye.
Aye for myself. Okay. And those were the minutes from the 9th, September 9th and September 22nd. Trying to take my notes over here, be secretary, and run the meeting at the same time. If anyone wants to volunteer for the clerk's position.
Are we on the list for tax write-off help with minutes?
Yes, I asked the assistant town manager who's on the senior work-off committee to put minutes taker for this committee, as well as the TCP Building Design Committee and Finance.
Great.
Great. Okay, so next item is discussion on definition of capital projects for the Board of Selectmen policy on capital budget. Tyler, can you just briefly give us a outline of what it is now, and then we can get into what we think we should change it to be?
The threshold now is $10,000. And this is something Dave asked to be put on the agenda to be discussed, I believe, to increase the threshold.
And there's also a estimated life of the purchase too, right?
Yes.
What's the year number on that?
I'm trying to pull it up right now. I believe it's 3.
For some reason I thought it was 5 or 10, but
I thought it was 5 in the
Me-
past. It could be. I don't think it was 10. 10 is a little bit long. I thought it was 5.
okay.
Yeah, personally, I think that the 10,000 threshold is too low.
Right, and the reason being is, smaller purchase should be accounted for within the operating budget.
Correct.
The actual policy in section 3.02 is a useful life of 3 years or longer.
Okay.
Okay, so then I have 2 things. All right. So then I also think that should be longer.
And it also goes on to state individual items that cost at least 10,000 and groups of items of that same purpose that cost at least 10,000 are both capital items.
Well,
I don't see a problem with grouping things together. This committee talked about at the end of the process last year of hoping that facilities would come forward with a group of small projects to protect the envelopes of the town buildings while they await repair and or renovation or demolition or whatever. So I'm in agreement with putting a number of small projects together as long as they're related projects.
mhm. I agree with that. Does anyone want to throw out a recommendation for, I think it sounds like we're all kind of favoring raising it, threshold for cost and timeline?
I would throw out 5 years and $50,000. For no other reason that it sounds like a round number in both regards.
I honestly was at half of that, but I would agree to anything between the 25 and 50,000 up to 50. I really think that we need to, use the capital money wisely, because we do have a lot of very expensive expenditures. So with the special purpose stabilization fund building a balance, and fire trucks costing $300,000 to $500,000, and plow trucks and so on being very expensive, I don't think $50,000 is really out of the ballpark.
Well, it might be a little bit high because some vehicles and some construction projects won't necessarily hit that threshold. I'm
Well,
not sure.
just to be clear, I am posting that it has to meet one of those two, not necessarily both.
Oh, okay.
So if it has a 5-year durability or it's $50,000, over $50,000.
Tom, how would you feel about or extends the life of, estimated life of the expenditure, and or extends the life of, as in the pumper that we've voted to recondition, that extends that life 10 years, I believe.
I'm fine with that language, sure.
Mhm. I think maybe the $25,000 might be better. Just looking at thinking of some of the past projects that we've had.
I'm fine with that too. Like I said, I threw it out as a number to start discussion. I'm not against 25,000 as long as it's not 10.
Yeah.
I mean, even 2.5 times that at 25 makes sense at least.
And 25 feels, a little more reasonable. Some of the projects, I mean, something at the senior center, they may have projects that are never going to get in that operational budget, but are certainly not in the $50,000 range. So the 25,000 to me feels a little bit more, reasonable.
Okay.
I look at some of the projects that have been in the pipeline on the capital plan. I'm very familiar with the parks one that has just been completed over at Wallace Park, and that went in at $26,000. It ultimately ended up being $33,000. So, we all agree the 10,000 is way too low. I mean, Parks could have done half that project with the money it turned back to free cash this year on the line item out of Parks. And they, in fact, used $7,000 from the line item and still turned $15,000 back to free cash. So I think we really need to put an incentive out there to, utilize their annual budgets to do these projects as best they can, and go to capital for, needs that they absolutely cannot afford. And if we also add in there, as we're talking about, has a lifespan of 3 years or more, and or extends the life of, 5 years, and or extends the life of an asset 5 years, then I think it will wrap quite a few of the projects in, and that gives you the window of opportunity to be under whatever number we set this at. I don't know if anybody else has additional comments. I'm ready to make a motion. I have a dollar number in my mind.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, I move that we propose to the Board of Selectmen that the minimum dollar amount for capital project be set at $30,000, or estimated to extend the life of the asset 5 or more years, or has an expected life of 5 years. Is that kind of what we settled
Yep.
on, other than the number?
Is there a
That
second?
covers the bases.
I'll second that, sure.
Okay, all in favor? Wendy,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Aye for myself. Okay. So now move on to discussion of FY21 capital plan projects for reconsideration at the special town meeting. And Heather had sent over a slideshow presentation of it. Do you want me to try to put that up on the screen?
Sure, please.
Yeah, okay. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. I have 5,000 windows open on the computer.
Ah, you're one of those people.
Well, I've got 2 screens, so I got room for it. How do I?
At the bottom, there should be a share screen of your Zoom.
There it is. Share screen and. No, not that
Boom.
one.
Look at that.
Mm. Yeah. Which screen am I sharing?
I'm looking at the facilities capital requests, FY.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as you can see it.
There you go.
Okay. That work for everyone?
Yep, looks fine.
So, Damon, if you want to scroll down to the deferred projects.
Oh boy. Funded projects, deferred projects.
You probably want to close those recents. I can see all your recents on the left hand.
You know, look at all my good stuff over there.
I'm interested in what you're looking at, but I'm getting distracted in what you want me to look at.
That was good when you
There we
enlarged
go.
it. Yeah, a little. Yeah.
Can we read it now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So as we discussed at the previous 2 meetings, these are the list of the deferred projects from the annual town meeting, minus the trackless piece of equipment that was paid out of Chapter 90 funds because of it broke down after the town meeting and needed to be replaced before the snow season. So the other one change I want to highlight is the police vehicle. That's this is an updated chart to show. So the police vehicle that was on the deferred list at the annual included a Tahoe that was the canine cruiser, and that vehicle does not come in a hybrid model. And the town received Green Communities funding to put 5,000 towards purchase of 2 hybrid cruisers. So if we swap out, and this has all been reviewed and approved by the interim chief, we swap out the canine cruiser that was on the plan for the next cruiser that was on the replacement schedule for fiscal 22, which is would be a hybrid cruiser, then we could utilize the $5,000 towards that purchase. It would be offset by that amount. So that would be my recommendation to the town. For other projects, there's a 1-ton dump with plow for the DPW, a reconfiguration of the public safety building carport for $135,000, a kitchen remodel, the senior center for $22,000, air conditioning for the admin section of the building at Turkey Hill for $28,000. The replacement of the carpet at the library for $126,000. Remodel of the Ritter building kitchen for $12,000. ADA ramp design in front of the Ritter building for $25,500, and a new parking lot at the North Cemetery for $20,000. Also, there are some unexpended capital items that will help fund these projects at the special town meeting for $6,826.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Excuse me. I was asked by the cemetery department to just mention, not that there's any concern with it in its position on the list at this point, because it looks like everything's being funded. But I'm not sure it was mentioned when this list was deliberated before. This is the first step of some ADA accessibility projects that they plan in that part of the cemetery. So the parking lot is the first step. And then there will be some other smaller projects that I believe, don't quote me, but I believe will be funded through cemetery funds.
Yes, I actually applied for ADA grant for the cemetery. That I applied for the same grant last year. We did not receive it, but applied again this year for the same project. But that would not happen until the springtime for that project anyways.
Heather, I guess my other question is there anything presently on the town warrant that could affect the ability to pay for this entire balance of the capital projects other than some type of a change on town meeting floor to the project list itself?
Just a change on town meeting floor. That would be the only.
Okay.
Everything else is budgeted for.
Yep.
Heather, just, I don't know if you remember, but when they pitched the library carpet to us, they said that there would be some savings if they did carpet tiles and just went around the bookshelves versus moving all the books. Does this reflect the potential savings of not moving the books, or does it?
This is using the carpet tiles. I believe they would still have to move the books for the initial to get all the carpet in. It's just long term when they go to replace any piece of it, they could use a tile instead of having to replace a whole section.
Okay, I thought I remember Jack talking about like a $40,000 savings or something like that from not having to move all the books. It was some substantial number to not have to move the books.
And Damon, I think part of the savings also is that they don't have to move, they don't have to vacate totally an area to get the carpet down. They could move one set of bookshelves, put the carpet squares down, move the shelves back into that area. So it isn't a, completely empty outer room, which is quite a project with books and all the shelves and everything. They could do it much easier, I would assume, this way.
Sure.
I have a question. I mean, it always sounds good to, okay, we're going to do it with tiles and we can replace them as they fix, but that would mean that you're going to buy a lot of extra tiles, or because either that or you're going to go to try to buy them when you need them, which of course is problematic because companies don't make the same ones all the time unless they have some institutional ones that they have all the time. So the whole idea of that, yes, you can piecemeal a repair is a great idea, but in things like carpeting or tiles in general, it doesn't ever seem to be available when you need it.
Yeah, most commercial facilities now are using carpet tiles. So you can replace individual ones. Usually you buy enough attic stock to fix a stain or something. You're not going to replace a whole room with your stock.
Okay. Well, if we're going to buy enough, I guess somebody would have to estimate, do you buy 5% more, 10% more than you need, or for how long a period? So, okay.
Some of the companies actually have, as part of their sales pitch, that they have carpet that they can match, or it's made so you don't notice a match if you order new stock. So I don't know what they have priced out, but there's all different ways they can do that. Do you want to go through, you have some other slides that show some of the pictures. You want to just let me run through those? Stop doing that. So there was,
There's one on the carport.
yeah, so this is the carport behind the police station.
Yes.
Situation that they have now. Next slide was
Aerial.
what they're proposing to do. To just improve their operations during winter conditions, which has been an issue for them for a while now. I think they're also making some repairs to the existing part, right? That they were having some difficulties or leaks or whatever.
I believe that was brought up. Yeah, I'll go back in my notes and check to confirm.
With the position of the cruisers under the new section right now, is that as far in as they can park? I haven't been back there in a million years, so I don't even remember what's there.
You talking about for the proposed or what they
The
have now?
proposed area, because I mean, the last cruiser on the end is sticking out by,
Yeah, but that's just a
80%.
curbing. That's I'm assuming
Yeah,
it's going to be reconfiguring it so that,
Yeah.
That's my understanding as well.
Yeah.
okay.
So it's removing the concrete walkways, the concrete curbing, and the island and bituminous paving in the area of the carport extension and retain an existing walkway against the building. So it would be removing all.
Okay,
Now,
that makes sense. It
looks
just
like
didn't
that-
make sense to me to see a new roof that only covered a third of
yeah.
the cruise that would fit under it.
But now I see that that sidewalk leads to what looks like the dumpster area. So how is that being reconfigured? How are people getting to the dumpster if there's no sidewalk getting there now?
There would be a sidewalk against the building.
Yeah, it's tough
Okay.
to see. There's one existing against the building. I think that's looks like some HVAC and might be the generator.
Or maybe that is the generator. Maybe it's not a dumpster. Yeah. Okay. I think you're right.
Okay, so that's that one. The other was, this is the kitchen in the basement of the Ritter and
Yeah.
the fine conditions we've been asking our employees to experience every day for the past God knows how long. So we're on the off chance we might actually get a new town hall in the next couple of years. Still going to be some time between now and then, and this is pretty unacceptable for what we've been making our staff live with for all this time.
I agree.
That's just,
Those projects. Yeah.
we already talked about those. And the rest is
Yes.
the slides for what we already talked about.
The DPW, though, one other thing to note is that the current truck would be passed down to the school department because they
Okay.
currently have a 2000 dump truck that's inoperable right now.
Okay.
Heather, what are the plans on liquidating obsolete equipment such as the trackless, this truck we just talked about? This is the last time I looked on Google Earth, there were a number of pieces of equipment up on the backside of the upper part of the DPW yard, a number of cruisers behind the safety building. Is there a plan to start moving this stuff instead of it sitting there?
We've already started to through municipal. And so I'd updated the board about a month ago, I believe, that the DPW admin was putting some of the DPW pieces of surplus equipment up on municipal for auction. And so far 4 have been sold and 1 piece of equipment. And the cruisers are, there's 10 cruisers that will be going up tomorrow on municipal.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Through you to the town manager, I am assuming, and I just want it out in the open that the question was asked, I am assuming that you're putting this forward with the belief that this in no way jeopardizes us for positioning our FY 2022 budget creation that we will be facing, since we don't even have from the state of 2021 budget yet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And do you know off the top of your head or have it in front of you, Heather, how much we have in our capital reserve fund should the worst happen?
It was 942, I think. One second. $940,470.
So, don't know if we covered this before and previously when we were talking, but for everyone who's newer to this, we, about 4 or 5 years ago, we started saving money for capital projects in a special purpose stabilization fund. So every year we put some money into it, and like now, instead of having $0 in reserve, we have $940,000 in reserve. So if there's a major crisis with budget, we still have some funds to take care of our capital needs.
There's, Mr. Chair, there's also a article on the special town meeting warrant to deposit money into the special purpose stabilization. And when I made my recommendation, I looked forward at what vehicles and equipment were up in fiscal 22.
Mhm.
And based on last year's request, we had $500,000 in requests. So I recommended we put $250,000 into a special purpose stabilization.
Even better. Thanks. Okay, so does anyone have any more questions? Do we want to make a recommendation that can be presented at special town meeting?
I would move that the committee vote to recommend approval of the deferred articles totaling 487,000, well, 494,333, including the unexpended article funding.
Is there a second?
This is Wendy. I will second that.
Great. All in favor? Wendy?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Dave?
Dave, you're on mute, Dave. Dave, you're on mute. He's still muted. Can you unmute him?
Don't.
Oh, it's me.
Oh, try.
There we go. Now we
Yep.
got it. I tried 2 or 3 times and I clicked something that covered the whole screen over. Aye.
All right. And I for myself, so all in favor for that.
It was worth the wait, Dave.
Yeah, the suspense is killing me. Do we have any action items for our next meeting? I assume we're going to have, do you have the department heads information back yet, Heather?
No, it's due Thursday.
Thursday.
So if you would, Mr. Chair, for those of us new on this committee, just walk us through a quick couple of minutes about what to expect. What do you have a parade of people over the next few meetings who present us their projects? Is that how it works?
Yes. Do you have a schedule set up, Heather? I know you sent some emails asking about availability.
No. So do we confirm that Tuesdays would 5:15 work better for everyone than 5?
Yeah, I'll do my best. Like I said, I barely got here at 5:30 today, so.
Yeah. It would just.
The extra 15 minutes would help for me. I can do 5 if we schedule 5, but 5:15 would be better.
Okay. So typically we do, I think the first meeting has been in the past, police and fire. And then schools and IT would be another night, and then DPW would be the last night.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just the chief or whoever the representative would make a presentation for their requests, and then we ask them questions, understand why the need is there, and anything else you might be concerned with. And yeah, we get all the presentations over those 3 meetings, and then after that we sit down and prioritize, rank them for recommendation to the town manager.
Damon, through you, I'd like to ask Heather a quick question. As I mentioned earlier, there had been a desire from this committee to hear from facilities on a conglomeration of small projects for facilities. Is that in the works, or is that still not being submitted?
I haven't talked to the facilities director about that directly, but it would come mostly out of the Vertex reports, as far as, because those are identified costs for different envelope needs at those buildings. So that would be part of the discussion, if it's not already in what they're going to submit.
Right.
So Heather, do you have a date for the next meeting to hear from police and fire?
Do not, but I think given maybe 2 weeks, so November 3rd would be the first probably available. So it'd give a week to digest information, and then by November 3rd, and I can alternate to see who's available if they're not available that evening, or if we want to split them up, because it's going to be an hour and 15 minutes that the committee have.
Yep. Does election day have any impact on us holding meetings?
No.
That will have an impact on me.
You're not available that night, Dave?
No, it didn't even click in my head till Damon said it. I'm committed for the entire day until the polls close.
Is there an election going on?
No.
So
No, I think it's all coming through the mail anyway.
The week after, I guess.
start on the 10th.
Yeah. Do you want to just do one or the other, police or fire, or do you want to try to do both?
Once I get the fire departments, that may help determine if they're more limited. Maybe we could do both in one night.
Yep. Yeah, it depends how much we have to go over.
Right. So just every Tuesday until we meet, right? Meet with all the departments.
Yeah, that's what you need for your timeline. So we can just try to do.
Okay. As soon as I firm up that schedule, I'll send it out to the committee.
Okay, so we have a tentative November 10th at 5:15.
Yes.
I had written in the 27th 27th of October. Did I pick that up from your email earlier last week or something, or if there's no need for it, I just cross it out of my calendar. That's fine.
Maybe it had been discussed at the last meeting. But
I think we might have mentioned it, but
That's fine. That just opens up the early part of the evening. Actually, that opens up, there's no BOS meeting that night either, so might be a free night.
wow.
What's that?
There aren't many of them.
All right. So
Did you feed her?
any other action items we wanted to add? I think that's it. It's just meet with the department heads and else had something. Okay.
One thing for action items, I'd like to know what process we need to go through with the vote we took earlier in regards to changing the policy for capital projects.
Right. Because it's a Board of Selectmen policy, right? Or is it our policy?
Board of Selectmen. But typically, I think this came up at a finance committee meeting. And I think the discussion was that it would then go to finance to see if they also endorsed it and then go to the select board.
Okay.
Is that your recollection?
I kind of remember it being tossed around both ways, that it could come to finance and then go to Board of Selectmen, or it could go directly to Board of Selectmen. I don't know. The motion we passed was a recommendation from us to the Board of Selectmen to do what we voted on. I see no reason why the Finance Committee can't review it real quick, and then it gets to the
I
Board
would
of Selectmen.
probably say after tonight's meeting, when is the next meeting of the finance committee?
20.
Are they gonna
where
meet
is it?
before us?
29th.
Yeah, so I would say, why don't we ask them to review it and put it on their agenda?
Right.
That way we'll have their discussion for the next BOS meeting. Well, it's an LSB meeting.
Heather, do you need me to do anything on that, or are you just gonna send it along?
The actual vote.
Well, just talking to finance and getting it in front of them.
If you wouldn't mind putting, as the chair, putting it
Okay.
together.
Sure. Okay. So I think we've covered everything. Is there any comment before we call it a night? Seeing none, I accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, Wendy,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and Tom.
Aye.
I for myself. Meeting adjourned at 6:15. Thank you, everybody.
Something magical about a short meeting. I love it. I'll keep my fingers crossed for 45 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I'll check in with you at about 9:30. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.